yields to them what they're asking for. There are 3 steps, very simple steps. The first step to creating anything that you want. The first step is you must ask, but it doesn't mean you have to ask with words. You just have to be in a situation where desire radiates from you, which is every waking moment of every point of consciousness. You're asking constantly. So step 1 is taken care of automatically by your exposure to your contrasting life experience. Step 2 is not your work. Step 2 is Source will answer what you're asking for. Circumstances and events go immediately into place. All kinds of things begin to move. Heaven and earth moves to yield to you what you're asking for. Every time, no exceptions. Step 3 is really what our work is about. Step 3 is where you must now find somehow, some way to be a vibrational match to your own desire. So someone says, I want more money. And we say, and what would it be like if you had more money? And they often say, well, it's so hard to be without money. And we say, but what would it feel like to have more money? And they say, well, it wouldn't feel like it feels with not enough money. It's hard for them. This is the hardest part of this. It's hard to all of a sudden stop offering a vibration that you've been practicing for a very long time. And so many people have been trying to justify the good that will come to them by pointing out what's wrong with where they are. And so we call our gatherings the art of allowing. And what it is really about is the art, and we call it an art because you have to practice it, the art of bringing yourself into vibrational alignment with who you really are, which feels really good, and what you want. And with time, many people are beginning to discover that just by looking at things a little differently, and most important, by wanting more than anything to feel good. When you say nothing is more important than that I feel good, then and only then are you willing to find a way of looking at things that holds you in a vibrational place that then allows what you are asking for in. If you could see an aerial view of your life experiences as we do, you would see all of those wonderful things that you've been asking for lined up right outside your door. And if you just open the door a little bit, they begin to flood in. So often people come to our gatherings and they are skeptical, but they are desirous. And as they open the door just a little bit with some of the techniques that we teach, things they've been asking for begin flowing in. And before long, they begin to know their own power. They begin to trust in their own ability to achieve anything that they want. They begin to feel that they can be or do or have anything. And most importantly, they return to the joyous beings that they really are. And they begin to notice that negative emotion is the anomaly, and that joy is what is most natural and most steadily their experience.
But what about people that are, circumstances are not circumstances that they didn't set up? Someone who is born into a war-torn area or someone or a poverty area. That could you speak of that?
Well, the most difficult thing for most people to understand about someone else's difficulty is that what you are all feeling in all moments, the emotions that you feel, is always the barometer, if you will, the vibrational indicator between the desire that you hold and your current perspective. So someone who was born into an area like that has a different desire than you might living in it. In other words, you could go to an underdeveloped country and see them living as they are, and your desire for their improved life experience would be much greater than their desire for their improved life experience, because you know the possibilities. So when you go there, your desire for them would shoot off the charts. And if you were to watch them as they are currently living, you might suffer greatly, because your desire for them would be vibrating in one place and your awareness of where they are is in another, and you would feel a strong vibrational discord about that, where the separation between what they're living and what they want to live is not so great for them. That's why there are joyful people who live in poverty, and there are unhappy people who live in prosperity.
Esther has tried to explain it, but I wondered if you could take a stab at explaining this whole process of channeling for us. I know you've said that we can all do it, I guess is the way you're putting it, but maybe you could get into that a little bit more.
Well, you understand it very well when you think about turning on your radio and receiving a signal that's being broadcast from a tower. And you know that you cannot set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.6 FM. The frequencies have to match up if you are going to receive what's being transmitted. So this is the same sort of thing. Source energy, that which we are, non-physical energy or consciousness or infinite intelligence, there are many different labels, is pure positive energy. From your point of view, you would not find any resistance within the vibration that is us. So if you want to interact with us, you must bring your vibrational frequency into vibrational range of that which we are. Esther achieved that through meditation. She sat, and for several months, for 15 or 20 minutes every day, she did her best to quiet her mind, which meant she stopped thought. And by stopping thought, she stopped any resistance in her vibration. And so her vibration gradually and steadily began to raise until it acclimated to the point of that which is her source. In other words, she literally returned to the vibration of her origin, which then meant that the process of communication was seamless. Then, as we thought the thought, Esther received the thought, you see.
To me, stopping thought seems as impossible as stopping breathing. I mean, I'm speaking for myself here, but my head's going all the time.
We understand that, and it is with very good reason that you say that, because you've trained yourself to be responsive. You are responsive to the stimulation that surrounds you, and that observation and that focusing really is what you were born to do. You are a thinker. In fact, we are not wanting to teach you not to think, because thinking is the way you mold the energy. It is the way you mold the creative clay. It is the way you create your own reality. But you may discover that when you decide that you're going to quiet your mind, that if you will choose a thought that is not a tremendously active thought, focus upon your own breathing, or focus upon the ring in the air conditioner, or focus upon the dripping of a faucet, or the flickering of a candle. Focus upon something that requires enough attention that you don't go to sleep, but not so much attention that you're off on all kinds of tangents that activate vibrations within you that keep you from your connection. Esther found that she could find a note. That's why people ohm. She found a note, different notes at different times, but that's the note that she settled on most comfortably. And once she found the note, she concentrated on holding the note. She didn't do it audibly, but once she found it, she just tried to remember that note in her mind. And by remembering that note, her mind was then occupied enough that she was not off on all kinds of resistant tangents. We teach meditation, or quieting the mind, because it is really easier to teach you to have no thought than it is to teach you to have pure positive thought. We would rather that you be in a state of appreciation than in a state of meditation, because in appreciation you are a vibrational match to your source also. But there is a jump from despair or anger all the way to appreciation, and it is a shorter jump from despair to no thought at all.
In the world today, America is, some people outside of America, they view America as this sort of big, powerful schoolyard bully that's going around and imposing their will everywhere.
America deserves that reputation.
But then the reverse is also true, that there are many people around the world that hate Americans and will do anything to wipe them off the face of the earth. So,
And America deserves that as well.
So where does this leave us?
But we're playing with you just a little bit in this sense. When you see someone who behaves in a way that is upsetting to you, and you cannot do anything about it, that feeling of powerlessness that comes over you is the strongest factor in disconnecting from your source energy. In other words, in this range of emotion, we won't get too far off the track of your question, but we're wanting to give you a basis here. In the range of emotions, which ranges all the way from utter despair all the way to that joyous appreciation and love, the factor that is within all of that range is, in appreciation and love, there is a perception of empowerment and freedom. And in the despair, there is a perception of disempowerment or bondage or no freedom. All of your emotions are about that, you see. So when you view a country or when you view a bully and you see them as wielding power, which makes you feel powerless, the emotion that rises within you is the most uncomfortable of sensations, because you are in that moment perceiving yourself as not powerful. When we say America or some bully deserves that reputation, then what we want to say to you is, but whether they deserve it or not, your attention to that aspect of them and the subsequent powerlessness that comes over you is the way you introduce resistance into your experience and disempower yourself.
So should we ignore what's going on?
It is not possible to be part of the world that experiences the contrast without desire being born within you. But as quickly as you can turn your attention to what it is you would prefer. In other words, it's just like the example that we offered earlier, where someone wants more money. They are having a hard time. They can't pay their bills. They are in a very bad financial situation. And out of that is born powerful desire for more money. If they could turn their attention to the idea of money, to the idea of how it would feel to have the dollars flowing easily, and therefore away from the feeling and the vibration of not enough money, the change in their vibration would then allow their improved situation. And that's true of any individual, and it's true of the world in general. There is a war against drugs, and a war against poverty, and a war against crime, and a war against teenage pregnancy, and a war against terrorism, and a war against AIDS, and all of them are getting bigger. Because in this world that is attraction-based, there is no such thing as exclusion. When you look at something you want and you say yes to it, you include it in your vibration, and things like it flow into your experience. When you look at something you do not want and you shout no at it, you include it in your vibration, because in this vibrational-based universe, there's no such thing as no. So the more you focus upon what you do not want, the more you offer a vibration that matches it, and the more of that you get, you see. So Jesus said, turn the other cheek, ignore, you say. And we say that's exactly what Jesus was talking about, and so many teachers that have come before.
But turning the other cheek, you can only ignore so much if someone is threatening your physical survival.
We know that most people are looking at life in a very action-oriented way. And it seems like if someone is aggressively coming at you, that you should defend yourself in some way. But what we are wanting you to understand, that whether you have reason to feel that way or not, when you feel that way, you have activated a vibration within you that keeps you from allowing the well-being that you are asking for. In other words, you cannot beat the drum of what is going wrong and let in what is going right. So, as people around the world see a plane crash into the Twin Towers, the majority of people around the world did not have that experience and did not need to be vibrationally affected by that experience. But because of your technology and your hunger and thirst for information, most people around the world had access to that information and are now having a vibrational response to what happened. And the vibrational response to what happened begets more. And then that begets more, and then that begets more.
But is it not human nature? I mean, the simplest example is a car accident. You're approaching a car accident on the highway, and it looks like it might be quite horrific. And part of you doesn't want to see anything horrific, but there seems to be this other part that just can't help but look.
You are focusing mechanisms. You are creators. You've come forth to devour your time-space reality. It's the way you identify what you want. You would not be able to know what you do want if you did not know what you don't want. A question that people ask often is, if we all come forth as physical humans from source energy, and source energy is this heavenly place where all is well and it's only pure positive emotion, why would we come forth into an environment of contrast to begin with? And we say because the contrast inspires the clear desire, and the desire that is born out of the contrast is what puts the eternalness in eternity. In other words, the new desire being born is what summons the new life force. So all of you knew that this would be an environment of contrast, and you knew that there would be things that would happen that would give birth to powerful desires within you. And what goes wrong for most humans is, once the desire is born, instead of turning their undivided attention toward the desire and achieving vibrational alignment with it, which would, by the way, bring immediate response from all that is and would lead them into the glorious life experience that they have desired, most turn and look at the problem that gave birth to the desire and continue to beat the drum of that. And so it's a very big story. It's a very big understanding. Little by little, people come to understand, if they're willing to pay attention to the way they feel, that you cannot look at things that make you feel terrible and create a wonderful world. And this world is full of as many creators as it is full of as many perceivers. In other words, you don't have to wait for the entire world to figure this out for you to live a wonderful life experience. We see so many wonderful teachers and leaders suffering because they feel guilt over the joyful life that they are living, because they do not have the power to bring every person on the planet to the same joyful life that they are living. And we say, you teach through the clarity of your example, and you offer the vibration of well-being, and you speak it as often as you can. And when someone asks, you explain to them how you've come to know it, and that your life is better because you work to hold your thoughts in places that feel good to you. And in time, one by one, more and more are coming to know that. But we agree with you. There are large numbers of people who still approach life not vibrationally, but in terms of action and in terms of retaliation. They talk one thing. They speak of love and peace and kinder and gentler, while they drop their